Hey guys, in today's video, we're checking out a wireless in-ear monitor system that is the size of a stomp pedal and is meant to be used with your pedal board. So you can still use this as just like, a normal in-ear monitor system, but it's designed kind of like this and is meant to be used kind of more with your pedal board. Pretty unique and definitely different than most in-ear monitor designs. So it has two separate inputs with level control over each. It can be powered with either 9-volt or USB-C power. It has direct out, either 1/4 inch or XLR, so you can send, a signal into your in-ears and then pass that signal out to like front of house or something like that. It does not transmit in the dreaded 2.4 gigahertz frequency. Instead, it's on the more reliable 5.8 gigahertz frequency. The receiver belt pack is really lightweight and tiny, and the USB-C port that is used to charge the device also doubles as a way to output the signal and record it directly. So this is the Eversync by Cloud Vocal. I've used it two different ways at some of my gigs, and I'm going to talk about my experience with it. And so I'm going to see if this is something that you can be interested in. Definitely a different design from your standard in-ear monitor system, and that definitely made me interested in checking this product out when Cloud Vocal reached out for me doing a review on this product. So they are the sponsor of today's video. However, all the opinions in this video are my own. Also, they were kind enough to send a second one still in the box, so I'm going to be doing a giveaway to one of my subscribers who's going to win this system for yourself. So be sure to subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and let's go ahead and check this thing out. Okay, so these are the two main devices right here. So this is the transmitter, which likely you'll attach to your pedal board. And then this is the receiver, which will live on you and you attach your earbuds to. It does come with a standard 9-volt power supply, as well as a USB-C cable, because this thing accepts both 9-volt and USB-C in order to power the device, which is really cool. They did say there could be a slight loss in volume when using USB-C. So if you think you need a little bit more volume, try switching over to 9-volt. But it's nice that it has both. So for pairing the devices together, it's really simple. Push this radio button right here and then push the main button and it goes into pairing mode. So the transmitter here, go ahead and turn it on and you'll see the blue light is blinking. That means it is not paired yet. So go ahead and hold this button up at the top, put it next to it, and you can see that the light is now solid and it is automatically paired. Nice and simple for pairing. In order to change channels, push the radio button again and then use the main switch right here and set it to something different. So I'm going to set it to channel A instead, or channel C. And what's cool is that it'll automatically send that to the receiver. You don't have to manually set the receiver at all. Once you set the new channel on the transmitter, it sends that new channel to the receiver, which is awesome. It's pretty rare. And yes, you can pair multiple receivers to one transmitter. You guys will obviously all be on the same mix, but just repeat the process for every receiver that you want to receive the same mix. If you want a separate mix, you have to have a different transmitter and receiver and set them to different channels. So you do have two different inputs with this device. You have a 1/4 inch input here on the right, and then also on the top, you also have input 2, which can be 1/4 inch or 3.5 millimeter, which is really nice. If you do need an XLR adapter, I'll be sure to link those down below in the description. So for this example, I'm going to go input 1 is going to be from my pedal board. In this case, I'm just going to use my HX Stomp, and I'm going to go out of that into input 1 here on the side. Now, input 2, you can get so many different things. You can get a click track, you could get backing tracks. You could get a full mix from the sound guy. They can just send you a full mix here, and then you have separate control over just your general mix and then your main instrument. However, the way that I actually did this live is I sent my signal from my vocals out of my wireless mic. So out of the XLR out, I just sent that to front of house, but my Shure SLXD system that I use has XLR and 1/4 inch out, so I sent the 1/4 inch out to the second input on here. So I'm going to route that into input 2. So now my guitar is going into input 1, and my vocals are going into input 2. This is just one way to do it. Remember, you can do it however applies to you in your situation. So now you can see when I tap on the mic, you'll see that input 2, you can see the signal on input 2. So it does give you an audio reading as well. And you can also see when I tap on my wireless here, you can see the signal in input 1 as well. So you'll know if you need to turn something up or turn it down. And they make it very simple to do so. Push the audio button and it'll show you input 1 is currently set to 4, so I can turn that up if I need to. Push the audio button again. Now I'm on input 2 and I can turn that down if I need to. Very cool. And just to show you, I'm just going to plug in just a phone playing music. I'm going to plug that into input 2 and you can see when I turn it up, you can see the volume coming up. When I turn it down, you can see the level going down. So it's really nice that it gives you that audio meter. Push the audio button again and you get to this screen right here. So you have a direct out right here, either 1/4 inch or XLR out. One's labeled through, one's labeled DI, which is very cool. So this setting right here means what do you want to go out those ports? Just what's going into input 1 or both what's going into input 1 and input 2? So in my case, I set this to input 1 when I did this live because I wanted to pass my guitar signal on to front of house. I did not want to send 1 and 2 because I don't want to send my vocals to front of house because I'm already sending that via the XLR cable. I believe most of the time you're going to want to have this set to 1, just what's going into input 1 you want to pass out through the direct or through ports. However, there might be a time where you want to send both out, so it does give you that option. Very cool, nice and flexible routing that it gives you. I really like that. Also, you do have this mute switch right here if you do need to mute the audio, which is also a nice touch, especially if you use this on a pedal board. So a few settings on the receiver. So obviously you have volume control right here and you plug in your headphones right here. And this device does charge over USB-C and it has a built-in battery. But this button up here on the front is actually really cool. So if you hold it, you'll see that the light turns green, and that means that the limiter is enabled. And it definitely makes the signal quieter, but it's a pretty strong limiter, but that is nice that you can turn that on or hold it and turn it off and go to blue, and the limiter is off if you need a little bit more volume, which I did at one of my gigs because it was a very loud gig. And last but not least, you can actually connect that USB-C out, the one that you use to charge the receiver. You can connect that to a computer or a tablet or something like that and record the audio that is going into there. So you can see, like in Logic, I've attached it to my computer and it found my normal interface, but it also found Eversync USB. So I can record the audio going into my ears into a computer or something like that to listen to later or for recording purposes or anything like that. That's a really nice touch. I haven't seen that with a system like this before. Very, very cool. As far as specs, this transmits on 5.8 gigahertz. The latency is less than 5 milliseconds. Frequency response is 20 hertz up to 20 kilohertz, the full frequency response. The operating range is 100 feet. Of course, that depends on the environment, as always. And the battery life is 8 hours. If there's anything else you are interested in, go ahead and pause the screen now. As far as price, as of the time of shooting, it's listed at $399, and I will have purchase links down below in the description. As of the time of shooting, it's not on Amazon. However, if that updates in the future, I will be sure to include an Amazon link down below. So check the description. Okay, so like I said, I've brought this to a couple of my gigs. I always try to test out my gear before doing a product review on it. So one of the shows I did, I just used it as just a standard in-ear monitor system. I sent our in-ear monitor feed from our Behringer mixer directly into this device. And the other one, I did it at an acoustic show that I did. We don't usually bring in-ear monitors for our acoustic sets, but since I had this, I wanted to try it out. And I ran my guitar into input 1 and passed it through to the sound guy out of the direct output. And I also ran my vocal mic because my wireless mic has 2 outputs, like I showed you during the setup part of the video. And I ran that to my ears so that I could hear my vocals as well as my guitar. Both shows, it worked out really well. That's what's really cool about this system is you can still pass the signal off to the sound guy, but you still get to get a mix of at least 2 different input sources. That could be a full in-ear monitor mix, or it could just be 2 separate inputs like I did at my other gig. That's what I like about the flexibility of this. Both shows, it worked really well. Having control over the 2 different inputs is really nice. Most budget in-ear monitor systems don't have 2 inputs, let alone a way to control the volume of 2 different inputs, so that's really cool. The only thing I would say is that with the limiter enabled, it was pretty quiet. Maybe I've just blown out my ears being a musician for the last 20 years, but it does seem to be pretty quiet, so I did have to turn that off. Although that one show was at Oktoberfest over the weekend, and it was just super packed. A lot of people. It was a very loud show. So maybe that was why. If you get the system and you're like, oh, it's pretty quiet, try turning off that limiter. Okay, so for pros and cons. So let's do cons first on this one. So to me, this is not a huge deal, but with budget and cheaper in-ear monitor systems, they do kind of have this type of compressed type of sound. To me, it's not a problem. I've done this before. I've reviewed so many in-ear monitor systems. If it has just a little bit more compressed sound, it's not that big of a deal to me. I'm still able to get through the show. I didn't have to go, oh, these are awful or anything like that. It is a slightly more compressed type of sound. My main gripe with it, I think, is the price. I think $400 is a little bit steep for this, considering that it only has 4 channels and it doesn't include earbuds. I'd like to see the price come down to about $300. That's my personal opinion, but I do think $400 is a little bit high. That's my main gripe about this system. And then FYI, there is no XLR input. I kind of do wish the one on the top would just be an XLR input. I mean, but it is nice that it gave you 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch, so that is pretty cool. So I don't know if that's really a pro or con. That's kind of a neutral one. I personally wish that there was an XLR input. However, if you guys do need to send an XLR signal into this, I will have links down below to XLR adapters. So if you need one of those, be sure to check the description where you can pick one up. They're very cheap. Okay, so now for pros. So I do like that they chose 5.8 over the dreaded 2.4 gigahertz. I have a whole video on 2.4 gigahertz. 2.4 gigahertz works, but it's the most crowded frequency. I'm very glad that they did not go with the standard 2.4 gigahertz option, which a lot of cheap wireless systems go with. 5.8 is much more reliable, and I'm very glad that they did that. 2 inputs with flexible routing and volume control over each. That's an awesome thing about this system. You can send both inputs out the one output or just the single input out, that direct out. That's really cool. Like I said, at my acoustic gig, this pack is so lightweight. I mean, you barely even notice that you're wearing it, which is really nice. It's not very heavy at all, but it still feels sturdy. I mean, it's you know, it's not like metal, but it definitely feels sturdy, but it doesn't weigh very much, which I really like. I love that the transmitter and the receiver just automatically pair with each other. So when you change the channel, it automatically changes it on the receiver. That is very cool. I like that it has the option of 9-volt or USB-C. Overall, it's definitely a really cool design, and I definitely like it. Okay, so who is the system for? So I think the main person that this is directed for is if you don't want to have, you know, an entire in-ear monitor rack. Either as a solo artist or performing in a band, building an in-ear monitor rack is usually pretty expensive. You have to have the mixer, the splitter, all the in-ear monitor transmitters and stuff like that. Something like this is really nice because then you can at least get 2 inputs in this case of 2 different signals sent to you. Especially if you're a guitar player or a bass player or something like that and you have it on your pedal board, you can actually just get that signal fed directly to you. So I'm an HX Stomp user. If you use Kemper or Quad Cortex or something like that, you can just run one of the outputs to your in-ear monitor system, and you can at least have your guitar always in your ears. You don't have to rely on a wedge or anything like that. That's actually how I did in-ear monitors before we had an in-ear monitor rack. Instead of having to build an entire in-ear monitor rack, you can just have this, and you can have 2 separate things that you can run to your ears. Now keep in mind, input 2, that's what I like about input 2, is that could be a full in-ear monitor mix. You can ask the sound guy to send you a full in-ear monitor mix. And what's really cool about this is that, so now input 1 is just your guitar. I'm a guitar player, so that's the example I'm going to use. It can be whatever instrument you need. And then you have control over how much you need of that instrument. That's your main instrument. That's what you're going to want more of. So you don't have to ask the sound guy, can I get more of my guitar? He'll send you everything else through input 2, and I can control how much of my guitar I want to hear. That's a really cool setup and a cool way to use this as well. So it's just something to keep in mind. But I think that's mainly who this is meant for. And that's a really cool setup. I do want to keep in mind though, is that something that I've known after doing reviews on multiple wireless in-ear monitors and stuff like that on this channel, is I do want you to keep in mind that this is a budget in-ear monitor system and you need to set your expectations properly. I do recommend that you watch a video that I have of mine that's 5 common mistakes when using wireless music gear. I definitely recommend that you watch that. But you do have to keep in mind that this is a budget in-ear monitor system. Most budget in-ear monitor systems have less channels to choose from. In this case, it has 4 channels. My higher end stuff has hundreds of different channels and a much wider frequency range. You do have to understand that there are limitations with this, although this one has way more features than most budget in-ear monitor systems. I'm specifically addressing that there's only 4 channels. Just keep that in mind. Again, watch my video on 5 common mistakes with wireless music gear. Overall, I think it's a really clever design. I like the setup of it. Sounds good. It's easy to use. Lots of flexible routing. I do wish the price would come down a little bit, especially with only 4 channels and no earbuds. I think that's the biggest drawback. However, I do have a video on cheap in-ear monitor earbuds that you can check out. I have reviewed $20 to $50 in-ear earbuds. I've gotten a lot of my musician friends to get these and they really like them. So definitely check that video out if you do need some in-ear monitor earbuds. But like I said, one of you is going to win this system for yourself. So in order to be entered, there's 2 things. Is one, you have to be a subscriber. So if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. And second, you have to leave a comment down below using the magic phrase. You can say whatever you want down below in the description. Just at some point, I want you to say the words Katy Perry. That's my #1 guilty pleasure pop-up session. So the magic phrase this week is Katy Perry. I will do the giveaway on this date right here. I will contact the winners directly. The way that you will know that it's me is you'll see a gray outline behind my name, so be sure to check that. Sometimes scammers will show up in the comment section when I do giveaways. I love doing giveaways to my subscribers. I'm not going to stop, but please just be aware that I will never, ever, and I mean never, ask you for money for any of this stuff. So if someone hits you up, they say, oh, you have to pay for shipping or something like that. That is not me. That is a scammer, and they're trying to scam you. I will also make a post on my community post, so you should see that in your subscription feed. And I'll also post it on my stories on Instagram. But I will notify the winners directly. Just remember, I will never ask you for money. So that's basically it. I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. It does a ton to help out my channel, and I would appreciate it. Be sure to check out 2 of my videos. First of all, check out my video on cheap in-ear monitor earbuds. I definitely think those are worth checking out. A little bit older video, but still holds up. And also, more importantly, check out my video on 5 common mistakes when using wireless music gear. I personally have made all of them except for one. I made 4 of these as mistakes when I started using wireless gear. I definitely think it's important to know. So check out both of those videos by clicking the links on your screen now. Thank you guys again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have any other cool music gear you want me to check out, please leave a comment down below. Always interested in checking out new gear. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at ScottYoleMusic. Remember, I will post the giveaway on my stories there as well. Thank you guys again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.